start with John Jeffrey from the CBC.
Hi. These are big investments, but many of the PEI's industries are small, they're rural. In the last 5 days, we saw lobster fishermen out on strike, 1,100 small businessmen, maybe 6,000 jobs. Many more and more, they're being forced to take work out west because of the seasonal nature of the economy. There was a great concern about your EI reforms, your EI changes, that you're forcing more and more rural communities to shut down. In fact, a protester a couple days ago called them death communities because young families were leaving. They had to go forced out west. So is this EI reform, is this an attack on rural Atlantic Canada and these small communities, or do you have plans to help these small traditional industries grow and prosper?
Okay, first of all, three things. Obviously, the number one objective of our government is to try and get jobs for Canadians. It's why we're making the kind of announcements, the kind of investments we're making here today. We not only want to see the preservation of our traditional industries, but we know that in order to grow and stay competitive in the globe, we've got to see the development of new industries and new opportunities, particularly for our younger people. And that's why we put such an emphasis in investments like today, on investments in innovation and the creation of jobs. And look, we know unemployment is still high in this region, and we have, that's why we put specific emphasis on making sure we get investments in places like Atlantic Canada to try and address some of those issues. So that's the first point, that we continue to try and create jobs, and we do have, notwithstanding the challenges that remain, far and away one of the best job creation records in the developed world in this country since the recession. Secondly, we are trying to reform our programs to make sure that when jobs are available, that Canadians are the ones who fill them. That's why we've been making the kind of changes we've been making to temporary foreign worker programs and employment insurance to make sure that Canadians can always fill the jobs that are available as our first choice rather than bringing in foreigners. On the third point I want to make, on employment insurance specifically, and this is important to understand, our government's philosophy is absolutely clear. When Canadians, islanders, have paid into the employment insurance system and they cannot find a job in their area, they will be eligible and will get employment insurance. And let me be very clear in terms of any misinformation. There is nothing, absolutely nothing in our changes that targets seasonal industries or seasonal workers or requires anybody to leave their region to get a job. We have not imposed those kind of changes. We are simply making sure that when jobs are available, that islanders can fill them, and when there is no work for islanders in their region and they've paid into the fund, they will be eligible to receive. And that is our commitment.
Theresa Wright from The Guardian.
Hello, I'd like to ask you about the lobster crisis here in PEI and also in the Maritimes. The fishers are saying that they're not getting the prices that they need in order to have a sustainable fishery. What can the federal government do, and why hasn't this been addressed nationally? If this was something about the auto sector in Ontario, I'm sure it probably would have come up.
Obviously, we are concerned by what we're seeing in the marketplace. We think it's important for those who are in our fishery and in our lobster fishery, particularly those hardworking families, that when they work, they're able to earn a decent living from what they are doing. We obviously encourage the fishermen and the processors to work to find a solution to some of the market difficulties in this particular area, but our government has been, for several years now, making particular investments into trying to encourage the long-term sustainability of the lobster industry and to open up new markets for our fish products generally, and we will continue to focus on those things.
Colin McLean from the Journal Pioneer.
Hello. There's a lot of money in this announcement for Charlottetown companies, but I'm wondering what this announcement will do for islanders who live on this end of the island.
Yeah, every year when we move forward with this fund, we run, obviously, a process where we gather applications and do competitive selection across the region. As you know, in previous years, companies like this, particularly in the aerospace sector, have benefited in Summerside, and that's why we've been seeing the kind of growth in this industry that we see. And look, I think all of these investments are good for the entire region and for job opportunities for people across the entire region.
Et on va continuer avec Michel Nock de Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Premier ministre. On aimerait savoir comment vous réagissez aux résultats de l'élection complémentaire d'hier au Labrador. Vous aviez dit avant l'élection que Peter Pinachoué était le meilleur député de l'histoire du Labrador. Hier, les électeurs ont décidé d'opter pour un autre parti. Quelles leçons vous en tirez? Est-ce que c'est une décision des électeurs par rapport aux dépenses électorales de Pinachoué ou est-ce qu'il y a autre chose dans ces résultats-ci, d'après vous?
Peter Pinachoué savait très bien que ça serait difficile. En même temps, il était déterminé de faire la bonne chose et il a pris cette décision. Et évidemment, nous le remercions pour son service public.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you
Thanks,
very
everyone.
much.
Merci.